Jon is doing different things, man. First of all, he started the fight off in southpaw. Then he was throwing kicks, going to the body. I think he snuck one in upstairs at one point, or he tried to. Then, brother Wade, he threw the elbows. All right, welcome back to another one. Thank you for tuning in. Watch the video to the end and let us know what you think. Leave a comment, like the video if you like the talking points, or even if you don't, if you thought it was interesting. But let's go ahead and dive into it. We got the recap for UFC 309. Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic, and truthfully, outside of the co-main event and the main event, I didn't really see a whole lot of value on the card, but the co-main event and main event definitely did deliver. We're gonna start off talking about Jon Jones and Stipe. Man, absolute domination. What you think about the fight?
Jon proved me wrong. I honestly didn't think he was gonna win this fight, depending on Stipe's health, because there was big questions we had about how healthy Stipe was. Assuming Stipe showed up in shape and healthy, I thought he would put up a bigger fight. And the reason why I thought he would is because he kind of resembles Dominic Reyes a little bit. And Dominic Reyes is the one who gave Jon Jones the hardest trouble and issues. And because he resembled him with the size, athleticism, then well-rounded, I thought he would do better because he was actually bigger and stronger. But he proved me wrong.
And the crazy part about it is I don't think Stipe looked that terrible. But I remember at the beginning of the fight, Jon threw some strikes and he threw it kind of slow. And he kind of exposed his chin for a split second at the very beginning of the fight, maybe the first exchange. And Stipe probably could have clipped him. And honestly, those are the type of circumstances where Stipe has won a lot of fights with counter striking. So a lot of other people probably would have been finished in certain instances like that. Another thing is, at certain points in the fight, Stipe had a little burst of combinations, a little burst of offense. And I think that if it was anybody other than Jon Jones, he might have connected. When he was throwing those 4 or 5 punch combinations and Jon was sticking his hand out and just circling around and he was barely not hitting Jon, I think a lot of other people might have been caught by Stipe. But the reality is, the way Jon performed, he made Stipe look real bad. Probably worse than what Stipe actually did fight. The way the fight ended with Stipe retiring, and even in his retirement, he looked unmotivated. He looked like, oh, thank God it's over. Like a weight's been lifted off my chest. I almost feel like they kind of forced him to fight. And maybe he was done. Maybe he didn't want this fight. It looked like it.
To respond back to your first point, the thing is, Stipe has to be worried about Jon Jones because Jon is so unorthodox with his strikes. Jon can throw an elbow, he can throw a knee. Jon is not some of these other strikers like Tuivasa. You know he's gonna throw a right hand, so you gotta look out for a right hand. Say if Stipe try to counter Jon and he gets caught with a spinning elbow or something, right, and then he could be landing on the canvas. But I agree to your second point though, because it kind of do look like Stipe was unmotivated and it looks like he was maybe been forced to take this fight. And that may not be the case, but it just kind of looked like that's what it was. And it also looked like he didn't really prepare for Jon too. It looked like Jon broke Stipe down systematically, but it looked like Stipe didn't really prepare for Jon and what Jon was going to do. Or maybe he didn't expect Jon to be as versatile with the strikes.
Well, also to add on to that point, if you look at the way the end of the first round was with the takedown, that kind of messed Stipe up too, because that wasn't a double leg takedown. It wasn't a single leg takedown. The typical takedowns that you train for, because I'm sure they trained for it, maybe thinking that he would try to take Stipe down the way he was able to take down Cyril Gahn. But the way Jon brought back the trip takedown, that was unexpected. That would probably be on my number 4 or 5 on the list of takedowns I thought he would be pursuing in the fight. But for him to throw Stipe down so easily and trip him like that.
But also what he did before that though, he threw about 5 leg kicks. And then he threw a leg kick and then he tripped him. Stipe kind of froze for a little bit. It almost looked like Stipe didn't know what was going on. So he froze just for 1 split second, and that's when Jon was able to trip him. So it just looked like because of Jon's size, his reach and height and stuff, his, like you said, versatility with his striking, a lot of guys, which we're going to talk about in another video, but I think he's going to be a problem for a lot of other heavyweight fighters, man.
And you know what this made me think about? There was a clip of Anthony Smith doing an interview where he said that individually Jon is not good at the different elements of mixed martial arts, right? He was like, if you're talking about just striking, Jon ain't a really good striker. If you're talking about, which I don't know what he's talking about when it comes to wrestling and jiu-jitsu. I don't know where he getting that from, because that's still 2 out of 3, you know, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, striking. Jon can hang with anybody, wrestling or jiu-jitsu, let's just say grappling.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking like, okay, you wrong automatically. And then striking wise, I mean, okay.
All Anthony Smith had to say was his striking is overrated. That sounds better than saying he's not great in any particular area.
Because the thing is, this is one of those fights that shows that when he puts everything together, like standing up, his stand up, it's not technical and it's not, who would you consider to just be an awesome technical like Stipe? It's just different. Jon is doing different things, man. First of all, he started the fight off in southpaw, and then he was throwing kicks, going to the body. I think he snuck one in upstairs at one point, or he tried to. Then, brother Wade, he threw the elbows were connecting, and then the left hand started landing and getting more accurate, and then at some point he started realizing I can do whatever I want to do, and then to finish him with a spinning back kick.
His timing and decision making, it's fight IQ and his timing. See, that's what Anthony should have said too, man. He ain't the fastest guy, he ain't the strongest guy, but the thing is, that's very deceptive because he's a strong guy. And
it's funny because everybody who fought him said they never fought nobody stronger than Jon Jones, and everybody who was in the octagon with him, they said he might not have had the hardest punches, but they said those leg kicks, they up there. And it's like, when you think about leg kicks, you don't think about Jon Jones, you think about Jose Aldo, you think about Edson Barboza, you think about people like that. But
Thiago Alves,
yeah, if you're really taking it back, Pat Berry's and stuff, and we talking about pure leg kicks, we're not talking about if this person was a contender or not, but when you talking about just the pure danger or the threat of debilitating your opponent in a fight with leg kicks, Jon Jones is up there, right? People don't really brag about how hard it is getting punched by him, and the people who have mentioned it, they said it was more about like the elbows cut you up. I know they said it about Tony Ferguson, but somebody also mentioned with Jon, he'll slice you with the elbows, and then he not the hardest hitter, but his punches do have more sting than people may think. And so when you mix all that up, at one point in the fight, it just seemed like the combination of Stipe maybe having his hand forced and taking the fight in the first place, and then the versatility of Jon's offense, it seemed like Stipe was just a deer in the headlights, man. At some point, he was just standing there getting teed off on. And that's why Jon was able to throw those spinning back kick.
And there was one video before Jon fought against Cyril when he was saying that when he was training, he was taking people down almost at 100% whenever he wanted to. It made me think about how much emphasis and stuff he's put on his wrestling, and how his wrestling maybe have gotten better. And I told you this before this fight, and I kind of was wrong with this, but I was kind of right at the same time. I said it's been a bunch of footage of Jon Jones grappling and wrestling, and I thought he was going to have more of a wrestling heavy approach with Stipe, even though he did in the first round. And you might could argue that ground and pound is what kind of slowed Stipe down. You know what I'm saying? But Jon had a great overall performance. It wasn't just the wrestling. So I kind of was wrong with that, because I thought he was going to just have like a more so just to try to take Stipe down, because there was certain analysts who said that Jon couldn't stand up with Stipe. I think it was on the Rampage Jackson podcast, and they were like saying, nah, there's no way he can stand up with Stipe. He's going to have to take him down for 5 rounds. And he proved everybody wrong with striking.
And this is one of those things, man, where you look at the fight and you have to realize Jon is the best in the world. And it's so funny because to be considered the greatest of all time, or people factor in different things, the outside stuff. If we talk about pure talent and what's been done in octagon, he got to be in your top 3. I mean, I can understand people want to put DJ, I get it. Even George St. Pierre, I get it. But at the same time,
look at those people and who they fought. I hate to say it, man, but beating Nick Diaz and Thiago Alves, and we can't name 80% of the people who Demetrius Johnson fought.